Ding's perspective, or if we look at Gukesh's perspective, it's not like they asked Carlsen to not participate in it. So 2014 was the last time an Indian played the World Championship match. So Gukesh, Praggnanandhaa, Arjun, yeah, these three right now. So it was a child prodigy. It was clear that he is going to do great things. It must be the first, the World Championship where the world champion would be quite an underdog. I mean,
Hey guys, this is Siddharth, and you are watching Sit on Street, where we talk about a lot of stuff and a lot about chess because that I feel very close to that sport which I've been playing for a long time, not so professionally. So that's why we have someone who is doing it for professionally for a long time as a player and now as a coach to talk about the great World Chess Championship match, which is about to start very soon. And thankfully, after a long time, we have an Indian in the fray, Gukesh. And this will be a match between Gukesh and Ding Liren from China, who is the world champion, who is the world champion from the last iteration. So, Ankit, thank you so much for your time. How are you doing?
thanks for inviting me, Siddharth. I'm doing quite good, and yeah, looking forward to the World Championship. As you said that it has been a while since we have an Indian in the World Championship. I remember that Carlsen challenged Vishwanathan Anand in 2013. I mean, he won the candidates, and in the 2013 in the Chennai match, he became the world champion. And then in the next candidates, to everyone's surprise, including Anand, because he has said that he himself was not expecting much. And then he won the candidates, and 2014 was the last time an Indian played the World Championship match. So it's been 10 years. So yeah, it's a great feeling actually, and yeah, let's see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
Mm.
And did you have this like growing up that, yeah, because Anand was someone we always looked up to, but at any point you felt that, yeah, there is this generation coming that could eventually challenge after Anand and represent India at the highest level?
There were certain players actually. So of course, so when I started playing, there were players who had potential to reach at that level. But we have to understand that becoming, for example, a grandmaster is just a stepping stone, right? So it's towards the world championship. First of all, you have to prove yourself at the world elite top 10, and then you have to qualify for candidates. For example, Eronian, who was undisputed world number two for quite long. He was, but the issue for him was that whenever he used to qualify for the candidates, he simply was not able to perform at his best. So there are so many things that were going on. And what happened was that when we talk about Gukesh, Praggnanandhaa, Arjun, yeah, these three right now. So the thing is that for them, they were improving. They were a force to reckon with. And then COVID happened. And I think after COVID, when they started playing, uh, I think everyone was taken by surprise, like how quickly they made the progress. So yes, it was expected that one of them or all three of them would do something more. But the pace at which they dominated, actually, the pace at which Gukesh, because Magnus Carlsen himself, when he was making the prediction in the candidates, he himself said that I don't think Gukesh can win. So this is, so it was because whenever you're playing the first candidates, you are so young. Because I think even when Carlsen said that he would not play the world championship, but he added that if Firouzja wins candidates, then he would play. And at that time, Ding Liren had won, and then so that time. But the thing is that Firouzja at that time was, he raced towards 2800. He qualified for the candidates, and even Carlsen was like he might win. But then we saw that he actually struggled quite a bit. So I think it is, yeah, it's a great thing at the pace at which the domination happened. And the thing is that it's not so just about now one player. I think we have these three, and yes, there are also other players. For example, those who can knock the doors of the candidates and the world championship. So it's the golden period of Indian chess. I mean, it's not even an exaggeration. Let's put it that way. That
Hmm.
statement.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I was at the Olympiad in Budapest, and
Okay.
I would play a bit with players here and there, and they would ask, "Where are you from?" And I say, "India." Oh, that's why you're playing well. So it's good to finally have that sport associated with India. Besides, of course, cricket. That if you are from India, then maybe you are good at it. Finally,
Yes.
to have that going is quite special. And talking about the participants of this particular iteration of World Championship, do you have a personal experience playing with Gukesh or interacting with him?
No, I have not had actually, because the thing is that I stopped playing professionally more than 5 years back actually. So but I was actually in fact playing I have not played with him, but I've played some tournaments where he has played. Um but of course, it was even at that time he was a child prodigy. It was clear that he is going to do great things. But yeah, so turning from a prodigy to a world championship challenger, that's just a great journey. So, but yeah, for sure, I would look forward to have a talk with him at some time and then yeah, connect.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's cool. At such a young age, these players are just taking the stage at the top level. And now talking about the other player that is also participating here, who is the reigning world champion, Ding. His form has been quite of a concern for a long time
Mhm.
since he has made his comeback. So how do you feel about that? Do you think that you can be such an underdog being a reigning world champion? I think this is rare in itself.
Yes. So basically, I think it it must be, at least from what I can gather, actually, it must be the first the world championship where the world champion would be quite an underdog. I mean, I remember that I told you the 2013 world championship between Anand Carlsen. So Anand was the world champion, but and Carlsen was world number one at that time. But still, there was a view that because of the match experience of Anand, because of his in general, there was still a school of thought that there is and Carlsen was still young, so maybe he could do something about it. But yeah, this world championship is yeah, Ding is underdog for quite a margin. But still, I think it's very important to not underestimate him, and I'm pretty sure team Gukesh, they are not taking any chances. So because public perception is one thing and preparation for world champion is one thing, because form is temporary but class is permanent. So it's we have to remember that. And Ding, for quite a period of time, was an undisputed world number two, and people were comparing him with Carlsen actually in terms of consistency and play. So then yes, his recent form, we all know that it's not up to the mark, but the thing is, it's a match. So what Gukesh would want to do is he would want to capitalize. For example, he has gotten white pieces. He has chosen white in the first game. So the thing is, initially, if he can build up something, so then the momentum will be with him. But for example, let's say in the first half of the World Championship match. So for example, if the score is tied, so as the match progresses without anyone leading, I think Bing would be sort of getting back to his groove, getting back to his comfort zone. So I think that's where the strategy would be ongoing, and that's like so. But yeah, I would of course, as an Indian, I would I would prefer Gukesh to become the world champion. But just as a neutral person, what I feel is that we should not the public perception seems to be a bit more negative to the Ding side than what actual reality is. And I think but yeah, it would be great to see how he has worked on himself, because he has also said that he feels a bit better, and how things are. I think the first few games will set the pace of the match on how whether it will be one-sided, or it is going to be yeah, quite a challenging one. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Ding, you cannot always discount him because he had that long streak, if I remember, of unbeaten matches, 100 or something matches where he was unbeaten. So,
Yeah, he had yeses more than 100. Yes.
yeah, more than 100. So he
So,
can
and also
surprise.
we have to just a small example I want to give here is that when for the third world championship of Carlsen, his opponent was Sergei Karyakin, and he had won the candidates, and people were like, Carlsen would just smoke him. So there is no way. What, Karyakin? And then the thing is that out of all the world championship matches, Carlsen was closest to losing that world championship match actually. So because he had lost a game in between, and then even the game that he won, it was very much towards the end. He had the white pieces, and at some point, Karyakin could force a draw or something. It got so close actually, dangerously close. So and at that time, Karyakin was not even that playing well in terms of the other tournaments or other games. But then it got so close. So I think match is going to be quite a different stuff. It's just about two players, fighting on the board, off the board, the psychology, everything. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how things unfold. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, true. I mean, it would be more interesting if it's more competitive because I talked to Ding very briefly as well, and he was a bit
Mhm.
surprised that as an Indian, I'm also backing him in a way that, it should be a competitive game. So yeah, let's see. I
Yes,
mean, the
yes.
last World Championship match was very interesting in a sense that we had so many results, which was not very common when
Yes.
Carlsen or Fabiano had
Mhm.
their 12 draws and
Yes,
so
yes, yes.
I
Mhm.
think I think it's more interesting when the games are not so perfect for us viewers. So let's see how that goes. But the one more thing that is super interesting about this World Championship match and the last World Championship match was that the truly number one player was not a part of the match, which is
Yes.
Carlsen. And
Mhm.
the great Garry Kasparov has also mentioned that for him this is not
Mhm.
a tournament of that
Mhm.
stature as a world championship match should be, and he even discounts Ding to be a truly
Mhm.
world champion in that
Mhm.
respect. So, what is your thought on
Mhm.
that aspect?
So, see, I think so. There are different viewpoints of different people, but we have to differentiate the thing between world number one being a separate thing and the world championship being a separate thing. So I think that's, so because we don't have something like tennis, right? Because tennis is more like the ranking is based on world. I'm not talking about world championship. I'm talking about world number one is based on how you, a certain set of tournaments or things like that. So I think what we should look at from this perspective is, or it's a different thing, right? So world number one and world champion. So it's we are used to actually seeing world number one in general being in a world championship, but we also should look at if we go in past, then not necessarily world number one. So they have been part of world championship, but not necessarily they have won the world championship all the time. So that's also there. And another thing is that it was if for certain reason Carlson was not allowed to play, right? It could be anything for that matter. Then that would also raise a lot of questions that the world number one has been out of this. So I mean, if he doesn't want to participate in it, I mean, it's his choice indeed. But then we cannot discount the whole thing about it. But still, I think since we are used to seeing the world champion as the world number one, both of them being the same, so that's why these questions are being raised. But the thing is that if we look at Ding's perspective, or if we look at Gukesh's perspective, it's not like they asked Carlson to not participate in it. So it's not their fault or something. They played fair and square. They went for the candidates. They're playing the world championship match. Ding played with Nepo and then he won. And now Gukesh is playing against Ding, and then there will be another non-world number one world champion. So yes, it is not that, but I think we should just look at it. It's a world championship match, actually. So that's a separate thing from being world number one. So I would say that rather than being some saying that it is in a true sense or not in a true sense, we should just look at it as a world championship. That's it, and then just let the players play.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense. Especially when you said that they
Mm.
are here fair and square. I mean, it's not in their hand or others' decisions and choices, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Uh, so, talking about this format, like this candidate cycle, this world championship format, and a lot of people, including Magnus, has an opinion that you need some change because it's not super attractive. 12 draws versus Fabiano. So, do you
Mhm.
have an opinion about the format? Like, do you think it should modify a bit?
So, see this. So there have been different changes into the formats. Like, for example, the current format since quite some time has been match. Sometimes there was even a round robin tournament of certain players, and that was there. Sometimes there was even like knockouts, right? So different formats. But I think now the consensus since has been like a match is a proper way to do that. And even the candidates format have changed. I remember at some point there was some knockouts type of thing was even introduced in one of the candidates. I remember actually. So like quarters was there, semis was there, fine. So there have been some changes actually, but so I think in particular to Carlsen, the changes that he's wanting to bring, that is bringing the so the fast chess in sort of. He's even, I think if I'm not mistaken, he was even advocating 2 games a day in the World Championship and shorten the time control or something. So that is, and he said that if certain time control changes, certain things are there, then he would be open to it. But this is something that so when we talk about the World Championship, there is a certain that the title that is associated since long actually we're talking about that is from the classical perspective. So of course the rapid and blitz is there, but that is more from the tie break perspective, right? So the crux of that is the classical. So when we bring the faster time control in, are we actually getting the best classical player in actually? So because for example, right now, Gukesh is not as compared to his classical chess rating, he's not that good at rapid and blitz. So now, of course, he will get more matured. He will also get stronger at it. But the thing is, when you bring the quick time control in now, can you really call it the classical world championship actually? So is it like so? I think there are no easy answers to this, but I think maybe I think since chess also wants to be an Olympic sport at certain point of time, so then there are also that in general, if we bring the quicker time control, there will be something. But those are different things. The World Championship is a different thing. So, in my personal opinion, so for a classical World Championship, right? I think the time control to decide the classical World Championship, I think should be classical. So maybe
Yeah,
something else could be brought in addition to this, rather than
yeah,
just making a quicker time control and calling it classical world championships, it would be, yeah, so
yeah.
that,
So it's
yeah.
like the test version should always be a test version.
Yes, yes. So we have like in cricket, we have one day, we have T20, all of so those these things can coexist, right? Rather than saying that one has to just step aside, sort of. So yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
that makes sense. And lastly, the big question, what is your prediction for this game? And we'll look back to it after a week and like I'll text you how it goes.
So no, I think Gukesh should emerge as the winner. That is what I feel. But I also feel that it is going to be a close match. It's not going to be as lopsided as it is as some feel. But yeah, I still feel that Gukesh should bring the world championship home. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Thank you so much for your time, Ankit. And I hope you have a good rest of the weekend. And we
Yeah.
have a good viewing that is about to come in 2 days of the World Chess Championship match. I always look forward to this event. It's like next 2 weeks would be just slouching on the couch and following the game.
Yeah. So no, thanks for that for the talk. It was great talking with you. And yes, as you said, let's look at how the World Championship unfolds. And at the end of the day, I would hope for the exciting games. Certain games that we would remember for time to come.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
let it.
Like the Magnus versus Nepo game of 100 plus
Oh
moves.
yes, that game. Yes, that game. That it was the longest game of the World Championship or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is that. Such things would be great. So
Would be great.
let's
Yeah.
see how it goes.
Thank you so much.
Mm.
And everyone, see you in the
All
next
right,
video.
thanks.